Hello everyone, I'm so glad to be here and connect with you all. Thank you Planetech Media House for inviting me to this one-of-a-kind Virtual Summit 2020. Really, I appreciate the team's effort in putting this special event. Experiential learning in the digital world is my subject of exploration. With this unprecedented turn of event due to pandemic, virtual classrooms are the way to go. And my journey to explore experiential learning has taken a new zeal. I would like to talk about digital marketing and blended learning today. I am Ashwini V. Desai, digital marketing trainer from 7.5 years, digital marketing consultant and expert from 8.5 years, and CEO of The Digital Tree, a digital marketing training institute. Training is a profession which is very close to my heart, and this company is an effort to help me to reach maximum number of people to help them in their career and business with uniquely designed practical courses. Digital marketing is kind of omnipresent for me. It is a skill set in demand as we observe the ballistic growth of digital content consumption with consumers shifting his attention to smartphone like never before. Digital marketing is a domain independent skill set, but having an experience in single domain can be great for your career. Also, with all this AI being integrated with so many tools to help marketing people create high impact campaigns, digital marketing is more interesting, challenging, and fun. Digital marketing is beneficial not only for big enterprise but also for startups. In fact, even freelancers can grow big time with it. Digital marketing is huge in itself in terms of its media, content, and creative approach to achieve the desired result. Every rupee invested can be tracked and measured. So, digital marketing, which was gradually gaining traction, has received a new limelight in this pandemic situation. Hence, it is a great skill set for students, working professionals, and business owners to have. Thus, it is our company's core product. Our premise for every digital marketing training starts with the same premise that every marketing plan has. For I to believe that digital marketing is marketing at the end of the day. So every digital marketing enthusiast should pay attention to these three parameters. Number one, understanding the products and services with respect to what problem it solves and what is its USP. Number two, understanding the target audience from all the demographic and psychographic perspectives. Number three, understanding the marketing objectives with respect to brand awareness and sales and well defined measurement matrix. Followed by these three surely is research in terms of competition, market trends, etc. With this in mind, the students get a clear perspective of why they are studying and what is the purpose. In my past 7.5 years of experience in training, I have trained thousands of students and worked with more than 20 institutes, associations, and companies. And this has helped me to learn that imparting knowledge and training is one thing, and helping them learn through experience is an altogether different thing. Thus, my quest for experiential learning began. Experiential learning requires concrete experience coupled with reflective observation. The experiences can be created with multiple aspects in digital training, with case studies, mentor guidance with real world experiences, while scenario building and implementation by gamifying the content, etc. We are working on a couple of models to help us observe which of it gives maximum experiential learning for high impact performance when the training is used in the real world. Training primarily needs two aspects. One is the technical training and implementation in the real scenario. We do the exact. We train in techniques and then our students work on a real project. Now we are blending these two things with further enhancements like gamification and social learning. I would be glad to connect with you all and know your views and also collaborate to grow. Do connect with me on LinkedIn by searching Ashwini V. Desai. Thank you all and special thanks to Planetech Media House.
Welcome to the virtual summit on Crafting Transformative Information 2020. This is being presented by Planotech Media House. Welcome everyone who's listening to me. I'm going to talk on conscious workplaces. I am Shinjini Sengupta. I am an author, columnist, a multiple times TEDx speaker, and a distinguished Toastmaster. I worked for 12 years as an actuary, and I am qualified as an associate actuary from Institute of Actuaries of India. I have also founded my enterprise, The Lighthouse, in which I work with storytelling, change making, and thought leadership. Lighthouse is a social enterprise which envisions a world that works for all. Its mission is to create a virtuous cycle, especially with a focus on emotional wellness, gender sensitivity, and personal transformation. At Lighthouse, I work with individual students, colleges, schools, institutes, community groups, and importantly with workplaces, with conscious workplaces, and with corporate leaders. At Lighthouse, I work with students, schools, colleges, business schools, corporate houses, individuals, community groups, and my special focus is to work on conscious workplaces, to work on gender empathy, on emotional wellness, and the overall culture at workplaces, be it team culture, individuals' personal goal, job versus career, and leadership. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a few ideas and a few observations about conscious workplaces. At Lighthouse, I work with these customers. At Lighthouse, I work with intensive programs and retreats, both online and offline, where I teach the art and craft of powerful speaking, storytelling, writing, creative writing, exploring creativity, and at the same time, very importantly, personal transformation. The personal transformation is becoming extremely important in our internal journeys, our personal as well as our professional lives. To understand that inside out transformation and to gain and power our voice of storytelling and effective communication is an essential professional tool and is perhaps going to be the superpower of tomorrow, of the future world. Talking about conscious workplaces, I am dearly reminded by a saying that I had come across a few weeks back. It said that talking about conscious workplaces, I want to reflect upon a saying. In today's time and age, standing in 2020, in an age talking about conscious workplaces, we have to first reflect on something which may sound a little trivial and obvious, but becomes a very, very, very important tenet in our overall understanding of our work, our personal lives, and our professional journeys. You see, standing in this 21st century, in an age where technology can practically do almost everything that has once been a person's work, when technology is overtaking almost every single thing, it can perform the minutest and the most sophisticated of the surgeries. It can now almost read people's mind. In standing in this age, when technology has overtaken so much of everything that we used to do, there is only one way left to be human, which is to be human. When I talk about conscious workplaces, this is the underlying model. This is the underlying tenet that we have to carefully look at. Are we being human in our professional lives? Are we being our authentic selves at workplaces? Are our workplace personas so different from our personal, our individual personas that we are almost faking it? Are we wearing masks in our office? I'm deeply reminded of a little snippet, something that I had studied in my plus two, where we had read Dickens' Great Expectations as a part of our curriculum. So in Dickens' Great Expectations, there was this one character called Mr. Wemmick. Mr. Wemmick was a clerk at a legal corporation, and every day as he walked from his office to his home, he became a mellowed down normal human being. However, every day as he walked from his home to his office, his face slowly changed to become like a post box where everything will go in and nothing will come out. He had that straight face, a poker face with which, with due diligence, he used to deliver at work, which was a menial, a manual kind of a job. As human beings, we have come a long way. As a race, we have come a long way. We have come from that age of industry, the industrial age, to information age, knowledge age, and perhaps now we are knocking on the door of the age of wisdom. One very important change that has happened through our transformation is that we are no longer working alongside the machines. We are no longer a machine ourselves. We now are standing at a cusp of a world where we have to present our authentic selves. And also the disconnect that happens when we only carry a part of us at work is an essential disconnect that burns us from inside, that eats into us. In fact, that emotional suppression gives way to a kind of a suffering we don't have a name for, but the stress and the burnout, it is evident. We are seeing it all across us. The thing is, I recently read a statistics which said that we carry about 1/16th, just 1/16th of our entire individuality to our workplaces. Now, isn't that a pity? Isn't that not quite an ideal state we would all want to be in? Because it is among our human needs. It is an innate requirement to thrive, to be seen, to see, to connect heart to heart with ethos, logos, and pathos. We have our critical mind at place, we have our credential at place, but where is the pathos? Where are we with our feelings? Where is the experience of thriving, of flourishing at workplaces? Where is the vision? I think when we talk about conscious workplaces, this is going to be one of the major things we are having to talk about. The thing is, when we talk about workplaces, a few things that I keep talking about essentially are: one, gender sensitivity at workplace. I think of one of the studies that was published by Harvard Business Review back last year, June 2019. It said that it actually carried out a study of thousands of leaders, men and women, in a 360-degree way. Harvard Business Review had published a study that they had carried out in June 2020. Harvard Business Review had carried out a study back in June 2019, just a year back, where they studied in a 360-degree fashion the leadership traits in men and women, in thousands of men and women. They studied the leadership traits of 19 parameters. Guess what was the result? Women outscored men in 17 out of 19 of leadership parameters. Good news? Wait. Wait for part 2. Irrespective of these results, women form just 4.9% of Fortune 500 CEOs. There is an innate problem when it comes to women representation at workplaces. Now, we have tried to deal with that with many policies over time. The maternity benefits have gone up. We are talking about period leaves. We are also kind of sensitizing the people about POSH, about policies for sexual harassment. We are trying to put in policies and rules. But I ask you today, how much are we doing in terms of culture? There are a number of studies that talk about cultural gaps that essentially masculinizes the workplace and makes it innately difficult for women to thrive, to survive in a job, to stay in the game, to kind of climb the ladder with struggle, with suffering. Of course, there are many successful, professionally established women all around us, but we have to now ask ourselves, is the environment sufficient for thriving? Do the women feel included? Do they feel they belong to the workplace? There are many names that we give to it. The unconscious bias, the bro culture, the glass ceiling versus glass elevator, the typical struggle of a woman, children versus career, maternity break, the caregiving role at home. At times, we also make the mistake of having to solve all the problems within the workplace. And most importantly, when we try to solve the problem of women representation at workplace, we try to fix the women. We try to roll out women leadership programs, which are important, which are essential. However, we have to also understand that women are not broken. The system is broken. And so we have to work with the system. We have to work with everybody in the organization, not just women. We have to cultivate a culture of inclusion so that she feels she belongs. We have given it many, many names. The broken rung of the ladder, the leaking pipe, the broken rung of the ladder, the leaking pipe, the glass ceiling. On the other hand, we talk about men and the glass elevator. But how many sponsors are there for women to bang the table behind a closed door? We have to be conscious in terms of gender sensitivity at workplaces. The other very important thing about workplace sensitivity is emotional and mental health, wellness. Our archaic leave policies, our provisions, our culture, our entire system of the HR rules and regulations, they are all developed on a sense of physiological illness. When we have a panic attack, we call up our boss and say that we are running temperature, because there is a stigma, because it is not accepted, because the awareness is low. We, and especially with this time of COVID-19, when mental health has really got the much delayed and much deserved focus, it is high time that we take this opportunity and we work on those policies. And why just policies? The culture of stress. If you think of it, the workplaces, they have always worked with a culture of fear psychosis. What will happen if I don't finish it? Instead of an innate motivation, instead of that drive, that push, that vision-oriented, goal-oriented action, we are always working under a fear psychosis. There is an immediate reward reprimand structure. And it is not exactly the atmosphere in which a human creativity can thrive. Because when we are stressed, when we are afraid, we are in a flight and fright mode. We cannot be creative. We cannot think out of the box. So it is high time that we move consciously, steadily out of that fear psychosis way of motivation into a stage of vision, a leadership goal, a storyboard, where we feel essentially a part of the vision that we are working upon, and then we take ahead our action. Productivity would not suffer. In fact, there will be multiple perspectives, there will be creativity at work that we are essentially missing out in this structure of goal-driven, fear-driven psychosis. When I work with workplaces, especially with team culture, there are a few things that I'm going to give away that I use a lot. especially the model of ACE. By ACE, I mean awareness, communication, and empathy. Awareness, communication, and empathy are essential to thriving in a conscious workplace. What do I mean by awareness? Awareness first begins as a lot of individual work, self leadership. Am I aware of what means success? How do I define success? What is my medium term, short term, or long term goal? How do I see my career versus my job? Am I aware about the people around me? Am I sensitive towards their needs? Do I carry my authentic self to work? Am I free enough to speak out what I feel? Am I aware of my creativity, my strength, as well as my weaknesses? And at this point, I have to say that we should not try to be replicas of each other. Each of us as individuals are imperfect. We are supposed to have some strengths and some weaknesses. How we play up our strength, how we work around our weakness, that can only be attained in an emotionally safe atmosphere. If we have to get defensive, if we have to pretend we can do all of it, if we have to be substitutes of each other and replicas, it would not work. We are essentially a collaborative team. So I feel that awareness sits at the very fundamental basic of a good conscious workplace. To be aware of self, and then to also be aware of my surrounding, of my colleagues, of my teammates, of my leaders, of my boss, of my supervisor, of my subordinates. Because at the end of the day, you have to look at each of them as people. You are here to solve a problem for a bigger vision, for an organization goal, and we are all in it together. That awareness, that inner work becomes essential to be able to thrive in a conscious workplace. The second thing I keep talking about is communication. Communication isn't one of the things that our standard archaic education system teaches us, because we often get into the mode of rote learning and learning to score marks and then racing in a rat race to get the next admission, to go to a good college, crack the next job, get the next promotion. In that entire structure, communication is important, but it still becomes a secondary goal. We are not conscious of our communication. Essentially, when I work on communication with teams and with leadership, I look at the four essential tenets of communication, which is listening, speaking, reading, writing. Notice that I say listening first and speaking next, because we have to understand to be understood. We talk about reading and writing. We are expressing in written words all the time. In fact, more so now that we are in lockdown, people cannot see our body gestures or our voice. We are having so much of written communication. Are we empathetic? Are we asking people how they're doing before we tell them what we want from them? Communication is an essential word. Communication is not just our external feature. Communication is deep down inwards. Communication is actually an essential character building. The third tenet of my structure with which I work at Lighthouse is empathy. In the ACE model, it is the third, A, C, and then E, empathy. Empathy is to understand the other. Oftentimes we get lost in our own victim stories. You know, my boss is bad, my colleague is bad, he did this to me, she did that to me. While some of those are real, are objective, are very essential to talk about and solve, at the same time, do we realize that each one of us, we are people first, we are individuals. Again, to reflect on the current times, on the COVID-19 situation, I do feel that this has brought up empathy in workplaces like none before. Because now we do recognize that the colleague who used to sit next to me, he now has a family, he now has a little child who comes in while we are having a video conference. So there is the human side, and we have to appreciate this human side of people. To embrace the other is becoming the most important superpower of the future. To understand another perspective, to understand things, to look at things from another vision, another point of view. Together, I feel that conscious workplaces are going to be a requirement for the future. We can no longer just look at the bar charts and the pie charts and give clinical leadership messages and tell people to follow our footsteps. It is falling out. That entire structure, that fear paradigm, it is falling out. People are now at a door of a shift of consciousness, and workplaces can only survive if they match steps with that shift of consciousness. Another very important thing to look at, where I work extensively at Lighthouse, is motivation. When we look at conscious workplaces, the motivation structure of conscious workplaces need to change from the archaic setup into a future looking, positive looking structure. We have to look at intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Oftentimes, when we ask our people that they have to work in teams and bring out the best of everything and become greater than the sum of their parts, but our reward recognition structure is often stuck in a way where we actually reward and motivate individual performance. And as a result, we are nurturing competition beyond collaboration. We are not making the best use of the collaborative approach, but we are, in essence, pitting them against each other. Autonomy, relatedness, competence, these are essential tenets of intrinsic motivation that workplaces need to work with. The future of work is going to be very different from the industrial age. The future of work is actually undergoing a huge shift, and this current situation of COVID-19 has accelerated that change. Our model has to change from competition into collaboration. Our very outlook has to change from pitting against each other or fighting against each other or racing against each other into a model of empathy, understanding each other, to understand the other, to be understood. As I said right at the beginning of my speech, I feel that in 21st century, with the kind of technological advantage, with the kind of technological advancement that we have today, the only way left to be human is to be human. And the conscious workplace will be that which allows its people to be human. Thank you. At Lighthouse, I work with corporate workplaces, with teams, with leadership, with individuals to work on careers versus job, their outlook, their self-leadership, their outward leadership, leadership at the workplaces and in their personal fronts, because I feel that communication, empathy, and awareness together will make them ready for the future workplace. The place, the entire world, our personal lives, it is undergoing a shift of consciousness. And at Lighthouse, it is my endeavor to prepare you for that new world, to be human, to survive, to thrive, to flourish. Write to me at lighthouse.call. Write to me at lighthouse.calling@gmail.com and connect to me on social media platforms. I would love to engage with you and partner with you and help you to transform as an individual, as a colleague, as a team leader, as a team manager, and as a corporate leader. Become the conscious workplace you want to see. Thank you.
Namaskar and greetings. Welcome to this session on personal branding. It's my pleasure to be here, part of this virtual summit. It's so nice to interact, yet being in this virtual world. Thank you so much. Personal branding. Gone are those years and days where branding was applicable more for bigger organizations, only bigger organizations. But later it started spreading to the smaller organizations or the entrepreneurs who sell their services, products, etc. Today, it is essential even for every individual, no matter of the role we play as an employee, as anyone, as human being. It is so critical that we pay attention to personal branding and create our own brand. So let's understand, is there a real need? Should we do it? And if yes, how do we do it or what do we do it? That's what we are going to share some my own knowledge, experience and perspective on this. As we talk, I would like all of you to keep thinking of what exactly your own understanding of personal branding. What comes to your mind? Who comes to your mind when you think of personal branding? Just keep thinking, who comes to your mind? What comes to your mind when you think of personal branding? And let's start to understand that a little more. So I put some people here, images of some icons, people who have left an impact on most of us. Look at each of them and think of one word which comes to your mind. How do you describe each of them? Interesting, right? For each of them, we have a different word. Each of them. One word. Great. So, when we have this kind of, each of them carry their own image, isn't it? That's what we call it, as an image. What is that? The moment we think of Mother Teresa, what word comes? I'm sure compassion. With that, right? Dr. Kiran Bedi, power. Each of them carry that. So what is that we carry? So what's a personal branding? It's an interesting perspective. Your brand is what people say about you after you leave the room, not in front of you. In your absence, what do they tell? When somebody leaves, they say, wow, you know what? This person brings energy to the table. This person is always happy and smiling. Or this person is confident. This person is intelligent, smart, whatever. What do people tell you about you? That's the real branding. So your personal brand is ultimately not about you. It's the perception others have of you based on the value you deliver to them. Every word here is so important. Based on the value you deliver to them. So what value are we creating? So your brand, does it impact your organization? Yes, while your personal brand is distinguished from your organization's brand, but you are interconnected. Whatever I do, the good I do, my organization also benefits and vice versa. And we have some examples. I don't need to talk in detail about them, but looking at the names and the images, we know what the story was. So it does impact organization. So each one of us are the organization. While you could be an employee, but each one of us are ambassadors of the organization. As it is citizen, each one of us are the ambassadors of our country. We don't have to be designated, but we are. As a member of my family, I'm an ambassador of my family. Whatever I do, it impacts my family. Whatever I do impacts my organization, my society. So, it goes, the cascading effect is always there. So it's so important we are watchful of what we do. Right? Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. So are we ready to create our life and our brand? We were talking about, is there a real need? Many of us will say, I don't like publicity. I'm happy sitting in my corner and doing my work, and whatever I am, I don't want to become popular, famous. Fair enough. So I don't need to build a brand. Good. But if you don't, they will. Who? People around us will build the brand for us if we don't. So it's easy to underestimate the importance of personal branding and avoid actively participating in your brand. The reality is, whether you participate or not, it still happens. So it's better we take control, of our life. So if you don't, the market will brand you, with you or without you. So it's better we take control and get branded the way we want rather than the way they will perceive us. So what is that we can do? How do we take control? How do we create our brand? So what is a personal brand? It is not about, as I mentioned earlier, it's not about competition, ego, or it's not for exposure, publicity, self-promotion. This is what is a misconception. These are the myths about personal branding or publicity, or it's not only for celebrities. No, not. Then what is it for? Whom is it for? It's personal branding is for authenticity, the value and the values we carry, the clarity we have, the passion we have, the reputation, what drives us. More than all that, the purpose, the credibility, the trustworthiness we build, the strengths we have. This is what is our brand. How should people know us for? What we are, right? Not about what we are not. And how do they perceive? So at this moment, I'm sure some of us have never paid attention to personal branding, while many of us do. For those of us who are not, I hope today we will start paying attention to our personal branding and start creating the way we want it to be. People should perceive us the way we want them to perceive us, not the way they feel like. Isn't it? Do we have control? The reality is yes. Many times, if not all the time, most of the time, we can influence that. Because people are not going to form perceptions out of the blue. They need to see something or hear something for them to form perception, right? So before we craft a personal brand or create it, here are some questions we need to answer. It's so important to answer these questions. What do you want to be known for? I'm sure some of us wouldn't have thought about it. It's the time to think. What do I want to be known for? Then what are you known for already today, if there is one? I'm sure there will be one. The question is, how do we figure it out, right? Future, at least I know what I want to be. But how am I already, what am I known for? Am I known for being dependable? Am I known for being energetic or being happy, spread the happiness, being helpful? Whatever, what am I known for? Just think about it. Ask some people around. A little later, I'm going to give you a technique how to do this. A very simple process to figure out how people perceive us. Then third one is, what do you stand for? What are your values? What do you stand for? Right, wrong? Do you stand for right? Or you're neutral? I'll just do right. I'm not going to worry about what others do. What is your stand? Justice, do you stand for justice? Do you stand for right? What do you stand for? Then what past experience have you had that have helped you shape who you are today? Right? Our life is completely built on our experiences from our childhood. All our experiences is what has led us to be who we are today. So let's dig deep and understand. Next, what makes you different? Today, everyone wants to be different, right? What's different? What's your USP? So it's important we understand that. What makes you different? And then, have you been successful in the past? I'm sure all of us have been successful. Maybe are we happy with the success, unhappy, but we have been. It's important to count. Because success, the way it is measured is very different. Success has a different meaning to each one of us. But trust me, all of us have been successful. The fact that we are watching this, part of being in the summit itself says that we have been successful. Could be we want more. Yes, why not? But that doesn't take away the success we have achieved so far. So, but what are they? So that helps us to build our brand. What kind of problems do you solve? Right? some people around us known for problem solving. You say, "Ye problem, oh, go to that person. He or she is the best expert in this area. They will guide you." Some people are known for solving certain type of problems. Some people are generally, their problems solving skills are high. So what is that? What is it for us? What am I good at? Then who are your role models? So important for us to understand that. While it's also important to remember each one of us are role models to someone or the other, with or without our knowledge. We are role models as a member of the family, as a neighbor, as a citizen, as a colleague, as a friend. Yes, we are the role models. At the same time, let's understand who are our real role models, and then how do we emulate, and what do they stand for? What is their brand value, and how do we want to create ours? Have you demonstrated the impact? How have you demonstrated the impact? What the impact have we created in life, and how have we done it? What are your areas of expertise, like strength? All, not just strength, the expertise where you're very good at it. What are it? List them out. The moment we start answering all these questions, it really helps. I hope you're all enjoying and kind of answering these questions. So I'm going to go slow. Pause in between so that you get it. Think and answer your questions. Maybe it's even a good idea to write it down. Take a piece of pen and a paper and write it down. Answer these questions. If you can't do it right now, at least make note of some of them and keep answering. Next, how recognizable are you? When you go out, people recognize you, or they say, "Oh, I don't know this person," or "I know." And how do they recognize you? For what do they recognize you for? Who should know about you? It's an interesting question. It depends on who are my target audience, no matter what role I play. Who should know my, in an organization today, especially being in the virtual and a matrix organization, it's very difficult to make ourselves visible, right? So who should know? So we need to ensure we converse with them, we communicate with people who should know more about us. Maybe my bosses, our managers, or senior management, customers, who are, all the different stakeholders. While we are going to talk about all different stakeholders. So among all of them, who should know about me? Which community should know more about me? That depends on the kind of work we do. Right, then the last question, what's your greatest professional achievement? Once you answer all these questions, it helps us, then you only start recognizing. And then you start slowly building. Maybe here, I can suggest you a small exercise which really helps, which has helped me to figure out, once you do all this exercise, then to think how people perceive us. In organizations, I know you would have had your performance review, you would have received some feedback. That's more on the performance of that particular period of time, but or situation, how you behave. But overall, as a person, the best way to do in a very informal way, not even I'm talking about 360 feedback in a very formal way, but informally. Just come up with this one word and ask your friends, colleagues, relatives, whomever you want to. Just ask them, send them a message. Don't even ask, send them a message saying, what is the one word comes to your mind when you think of me? I will repeat. If you want to note down, please note down. What is the one word which comes to your mind when you think of me? Alternatively, can you please describe me in one word? You will get very interesting answers, some pleasantly surprises. Most of the time it's pleasant surprises, some neutral surprises. Very rarely you may get unpleasant surprises. But most often, trust me, you will get pleasant surprises. And then you will know how people perceive you. Because often this is a question people ask me. Srividya, how do we know how people perceive us? So do this little exercise. Send a message, type a message and send it to people who value you, who are interested in your growth. Even otherwise, send it, no problem. We'll get different perspective, 360 degree. No? You can even send it to people who are not happy with you and see what kind of response you get. And you will be, trust me, very, very surprised. Enjoy doing this exercise. Do it today. Tomorrow we don't know. Better do it today, right? So do that exercise. And then what do you value? Our values talk a lot about who we are. It talks a lot. What is your core value? My simple suggestion is it's important for us to list of all our values, just list them. And then start prioritizing and say, what is that one thing? What are those few values which I value high? Meaning I will never compromise, no matter what the situation. I will still follow that. I will still practice that. It is all in our behavior. Values are demonstrated through our behaviors. So empathy, equality, accountability, positivity, openness. What is that? What are our core values? Find out. It's important. Periodically, we got to do this exercise. And then I'm demonstrating that, and I'm happy to be known for that. Then one more suggestion for me is to write your own mission statement. Like how organizations have their vision mission statement. Even as individuals, it's important that we have our own vision and mission statement. Start with that. It's a big exercise. So I'm not going to get in detail of how to do that. That could be another session by itself. But I'm sure most of us know. Start paying attention. What am I doing? What's my purpose in life? What's my mission statement, vision statement? Learn more about it and draft your own statement. And trust me, you will love doing that. It's a tough exercise, but it's a joyful exercise too. For doing all that, first thing is we need to get out of our comfort zone. Till then, nothing can happen. Even to ask this, ask a lot of your friends and colleagues or your all connects, how do you describe me in one word? For that also, you need to get out of your comfort zone. Growth is only when you get out of your comfort zone, which we know. It's just a reminder. Because many of us would have believed so far that personal branding is not for me, it's for celebrities. But now we are saying we got to do it, no matter what level we are in. Start as early as possible in life. You will definitely love it later. So take that step outside of your comfort zone and today and make a change. And your world will change. I was talking about in the corporate world also, why do we need as employee? So what are the critical success factors in a corporate environment? I say pie. What's the share of your pie? P stands for performance. Yes. Do we need to perform? No doubt. We all need to perform. That's our primary, and it's given. Right? After certain, in the beginning, performance is struggle. Later, performance is a habit for many of us. We do perform. But yet some people say, I perform so well, but I'm still not growing. Because as we grow higher, just performance is not enough. It's given, but not enough. So we need the other two, I and E. I is the image. What image do you carry? What are you known for? And that can happen only through your E, that is your exposure and how much you expose yourself, how much of exposure you have in the organization or outside. What's the share of your pie? Think about it. Performance, image, and exposure. So that's why I said for the image, do that exercise, figure out. And then once you know what's your image, once everybody sends you a one word, you will see a pattern. And then you ask yourself, are you happy with that? It's not about right, wrong. There's nothing you can say, oh, I am not this, they are just perceiving me. No, our behaviors lead them to perceive like that. So if they're perceiving in a way I'm happy, then I continue my behaviors. If not, that's the time for me to think and bring in some change in my behavior so that the perception changes. If you consciously do that for a period of time, then you redo this exercise maybe after 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, depending on what you're going to work on. And then again, send them that word. Then you will know whether the changes happen in the perception of people. While they perceive, we can still influence, and we do influence. Right? Many people, the way they walk, we like, wow, what a walking style. What a dressing style. What a talking style. You know, so many things. So what is that? Some people are known for energy, happiness, cheerful, helpful. So what are we known for? to do this, especially now I'm going to focus on the E part, the exposure. And how do you expose yourself? How do we do that? That's only possible through our something called networking. How do we do the network? Why? Are you a lion or are you a cobweb? What's the difference? If you know, lion hunts for its prey only when it is hungry. Otherwise, it just doesn't matter. Even the prey is walking behind, it doesn't go run and kill. It does only when it is hungry. On the other side, cobweb prepares the web and keeps it ready for the prey to any time to come. So what are we? Are you going to build your network when the need comes? The need comes, oh, I need someone in this organization because I need some help, I need some information, or I've applied job for in this organization, but I don't know anyone. Or are you like a cobweb? Keep building network. You don't know when, who would be helpful, useful for us and for others. So today, make a decision. Do you want to be a lion or a cobweb? If you're already one, let's expand it. It's even good. Why? Because network is equal to net worth. In fact, people say your network is sum total of net worth of people you regularly interact with. So whom do you hang out with? That makes a difference. Then how do we measure the network? How many people do you know? That's an exposure or expose. I know Sachin Tendulkar. Does he know me? No, I don't. What's the point? Then you can't call him as part of network. You can say role model, but not part of your network. So how many people know you are also? That matters. And what do they know you for? How do they know you for? Can you count them for support? When you need, do you know? Yeah, if I call so-and-so person, I know I get the required help. Are they? Best way to measure is, do you have in your speed dial number of a police, a doctor, or an advocate, whatever we need on day-to-day support in terms of emergency. Somebody in government office. Not just we have their numbers, when we call, they should pick up the phone and not say, "Kaun hai?" Rather they pick up and say, "Yes, what can I do for you?" That, if you don't have it, build that. We need to have people from all different walks of life. We have no idea when we need them. From different industries. Often we kind of hang around with people from the same industry, in the organization also, same department, we all get together. But try and network with all other functions, departments outside the organization from a totally different industry. Oh, there's so much we learn. Could be, if you are a techie, go and hang on with somebody in the arts. I know combination is weird, but trust me, it's going to be very beneficial. So we kind of broaden our horizon, start thinking very differently, go and learn something totally different outside of your industry. Oh, that brings a lot of different perspective to the work we do. For that, it's important you know your stakeholder. Who are your stakeholders? Often we have a challenge even in identifying who's our stakeholder. First, we need to define who stakeholder, not shareholder. Shareholders own the straight away the financial aspect. Stakeholder is someone, whatever we do, there is an impact on them. Then there are stakeholders. Any action of ours has an impact on others, then they're all our stakeholders, or vice versa. So if you take in the organization and all employees, my manager, my CEO, my peer, my colleagues, my counterparts, my customers, all of them are on one side stakeholders. On the other side, again, depending on what kind of organization, what kind of role we play there, government authorities, investors, stock exchange, partners, vendors. And have you ever thought that I'm a stakeholder for myself? Whatever I do impacts me first, more than anyone else. So treat yourself as like a great stakeholder. And then family and friends, right? Whatever I do does impact my family and my friends, people around me. In turn, society, nation, the world. Today in a global environment, whatever we do, it does have an impact. And everyone is a stakeholder. So remember, every action we take has an impact on the world, some way or the other. So to make progress, we have to build multi-stakeholder process harnessing the appropriate energies. So how do we build? I like this. Networking is simply the cultivating of mutually beneficial give and take win-win relationships. It works best, however, when the emphasis is on give part. Start giving. You don't know. Don't calculate, oh my God, इससे क्या फायदा है? But yes, you have no idea. Just become a giver, natural giver without expectation. That's how we build networking. And you have no idea, somebody comes somewhere. I'm sure you all have had this experience, right? Receiving help from totally unexpected source. That happens. So just be a giver and your network will definitely will. Simple hello, just taking a call, especially now during this pandemic COVID time. Just call someone, your customer, your colleague, somebody who you don't interact on work day to day. Just call and say, hey, how are things with you? Hope everything is okay. Just that one call can build a relationship. One hello can change. Giving time, no matter you give money or etc. Giving time is the best gift you can give anyone. And that will take you a long way. Have a mentor, shake hands, not in the COVID time, now you do this. But generally, it's a way of connecting with people whom you don't know, co-travelers or whoever you meet. Just connect with them. And it's important you keep in touch with classmates, teachers, colleagues. Remember to send that one word exercise to any of this, your old teachers, your old classmate. I know you may hesitate, oh my God, what will they think? Nothing. Trust me, they will be very happy to respond. And I'm talking from experience. These are the way, why I'm saying build your network. That's where your brand. I'll come to the why is it important. And join some professional groups, social groups, sports, NGOs. Because show me your friends, I will show you your future. This reminds me a Sanskrit Subhashita I learned way back in my school days. It says, Gunavajjana samsargat yati nichopi gauravam pushpamala prasangena sutram shirasi dharyate. Meaning, if you take a thread, if I take some ordinary thread, right? If it's here, if it falls here, I'm going to immediately throw it off. Hey, something is there. Somebody at least will do, if not me. But if the same thread gets associated with beautiful jasmine flowers and makes like a garland, then I'm happy to keep it on my head. Or we even offer to God, keep it on God's head. Ordinary thread is thrown. But the moment it gets associated with a beautiful flower, the value went up. So our value goes up based on whom we are associated. That's why people say, get associated with great people, successful people. That energy also we get, and we are also valued. Trust me, I've had that tremendous experience. There was once I had the opportunity and blessings of meeting Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. I'm sure that was a dream of many of us, and I'm sure some of us would have had that experience as well. So I had to organize an event of him. He came to IIM Bangalore, big event, all that. After the event, because of my association with Dr. Kalam, my value went up. People started treating me very differently. Oh, she knows that person. She has the contact of that person. My value went up. The one Subhashita, what I learned back school days, I could experience to the fullest 8 years ago. That's the power of networking and branding. They are connected to each other. Your brand value goes up. Let people think of you saying, oh, that person is very resourceful. So it has all that. So be watchful of every behavior, with whom you interact, what you do at every moment. It has impact everywhere. What you do impacts you, the society, your organization, everyone. Remember that. And today, social media presence is also very important. I'm sure many of us could be shying away from being in that, saying, oh, I don't like Facebooking. I don't like this. Yes, you may not like, fair enough, but at least be in some professional forum, maybe LinkedIn. LinkedIn is for professional forum. You may choose what to post. Sometimes because we don't like what others do, we end up not even doing that. You don't want to be that is fine. That doesn't mean you should avoid and run away from it. We have no choice. Social media is going to here to stay. So we learn the way we want to use it. We don't have to use it the way everyone uses. Or we can use it the way some people use it the best. Learn from them. Learn from what you've liked and replicate them. What you don't like, avoid. But be there, be connected in social media, and whichever, if not all of them, but one, two, or the three of platforms, it is definitely recommendable to be there. And it matters where you create your brand. What kind of a post do you share? What kind of comments do you make? When you wish somebody, how do you wish them? There are so many things. If you write a blog, what are you writing for? So that's way for expression, a beautiful platform. Technology has given such a beautiful platform for us to express ourselves, where we couldn't have reached so many people otherwise. So it's an opportunity platform. So let's leverage it. With this, I hope we've received some little inputs and little trigger of thoughts about personal branding and the significance of it. And I'm sure each one of us will make that change from today where we are to the next level. If you haven't started, we will start actively. If you're already, maybe redo it. We need to keep reflecting back and continue to build our brand very strong. Just remember, otherwise others will do. So that's why it's important. You must inspire yourself before you can inspire others. I really wish each one of the viewers of this summit a great success, build an amazing personal brand for yourself, and in turn, your family, society, organization, country, nation, and the world. Let's together make this world a better place. Thank you so much for inviting me to this virtual summit. Thank you for everyone. Namaskar.
Hi, my name is Anjana Vinod, and a brief background about myself. I've been a corporate trainer for almost 27 years of my life. Have been a TEDx speaker, a breast cancer coach, a ICF certified PCC level success and career coach. I'm also been a mentalist and a positivity coach or a mental well-being coach. Uh, a lot of coaching certification sounds like, right? Well, very honestly, if I had to describe myself in one word, I would say I am somebody who is agile. Yes, that's the word I would like to use for myself. Agility is the new word or the buzzword in today's times. Corporates have gone through a lot of change, and I strongly believe that the only corporate which has sustained this is the one who has been agile. Agile in terms of adaptability, agile in terms of coming back into the regime and making sure that nothing in this pandemic stops us from doing what we want to do. When we had to describe this pandemic, I would say predominantly the three R's that describe it: rediscover yourself, recreate yourself, and reapply yourself. Yes, reapply in terms of, can I do this all over again? Maybe there were lots who had to start from the scratch. Well, did I do good in this pandemic? if I had to talk about myself, well, I was alone, all alone from Feb 18th. I have a daughter who's in Nagpur, husband who's serving the nation right now, and that leaves me all by myself. So imagine when you're all alone, what is kind of mental trauma that you're going to? There's not a human soul to connect with. There's not a human soul who can physically be present and you can talk to. Virtual world, digital world has definitely got all of us very close. But is that sufficient? What I realized is for a good mental well being, what is very, very important is a positive outlook to life. Which means that if you start loving yourself more than you love anybody else, you will be an energy and a source of strength for a lot of people in your family. I take lectures 7 to 9 in the morning. I do have international clients, so hence sometimes my coaching call starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. But apart from all these things, what keeps me busy through the day is my love and my passion, which I have decided to go back to, could be art, any form of an art. So I do theater. Apart from theater, the days I'm not doing theater, I have hooked on to drawing, some kind of an art form. I started with mandala, went ahead to learn Madhubani, and all this thanks to the digital YouTube. Today, I can very confidently say that no matter if there is a pandemic, no matter how long this lasts, I am going to have a smile on my face and I can survive this, even if I'm alone. And the only reason why I say that is because I've learned to love myself and I've learned to engage myself. A lot of deep conversations with myself did give me an insight on what is it that Anjana is all about. What would I love to do? What would I love to be? A lot of content got created during this point of time because I had spare time to myself. A lot of books which I had bought, I hadn't got a chance to read them because of my hectic travel schedule. I got back to reading books. Well, very honestly, life is all about agility and being agile. How flexible are you to adapting this change? What else can you do to adapt to this change? What are the key elements into this change? Can I look at life positively? Well, the answer is yes. The only thing is, instead of saying your brain not to do something, replace it with a thought that could make it happen. Let me give you an example. I don't want you to think about a pink elephant. Yeah, don't. I mean to say, don't think about a pink elephant. Do you realize what happened? You actually thought only about a pink elephant. But now let me try it one more time. I don't want you to think of a pink elephant, but imagine a blue elephant, a colorful blue elephant, not the pink one, the blue elephant blue. You know, it could be turquoise blue, it could be light blue, it could be sea blue, a lovely blue elephant. Did you realize what happened? You gave your mind a thought process. Every time you tell your mind not to do something, are you replacing it with a thought process that your mind wants to think about? If you have that, you will become agile because you will be flexible to have any kind of a thought process and that will work best for you. Wishing you all the very best when you look at life from a completely new zeal and loving yourself more than anyone else. Thank you. This is Anjana Vinod signing off.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Virtual Summit on Crafting Transformative Information 2020, presented by Planotech Media House. Let me introduce myself. Myself, Rabia Bhatia. I'm a change maker, I'm a mentor, I'm a motivator, I'm a HR professional, branding and PR expert, and not only this, I have designed my own curriculum as well. My curriculum talks about the 21st century life skills and the value creation. Talking about my professional experience, I have 17 years of work experience into diversified sectors, be it a corporate sector, IT sector, hospitality sector, or the banking sector. And now I'm associated with the education sector for past 5 years. Having worked with diversified sectors, I realized one thing, that there's not much difference between a corporate as well as the education sector. Corporate sector, though the environment in the corporate sector is a little different, the work culture, the mindset of people, as well as there are certain different departments in corporate sector which are completely, which has different units as compared to the IT sector or the education sector. Coming to the fact, the corporate sector has its own pros and cons. If you talk about the pros, the corporate sector has high pay scales. They have the yearly leave pattern. The yearly leave pattern is different from the other sectors. You get much more leaves as compared to the education sector, as compared to the IT sector. Of course, the salary packages, as I discussed, as I shared the information, the salary packages are much more than any other sectors. The corporate sector have people from different backgrounds. Like for example, there are engineers, there are MBAs, we have investment bankers, we have CAs. So it's a mixture of all basically. Somebody who's into PhD, they can also join the corporate sector. As compared to the education sector, we have a set of pattern, a set of degree holders which we require for the education sector. Plus, the salary packages are not as high as compared to the corporate sector. Now, coming to the cons, the work culture, the long working hours. Then, of course, when we are working for long duration, we tend to miss our diets, we tend to miss our meals also. And it affects the mental health, it affects the physical health also. Yes, of course. Talk about the politics. Though politics are there in each and every sector now, be it education sector, be it IT, be it corporate sector. So the politics, it's not only confined to the corporate sector, it's all over. However, if you talk about the corporate, of course, they have multiple people from multiple backgrounds. So the mindset doesn't match at times where the problem occurs. The corporate sector is an area where people go because of the high salary packages, but at the same point of time, due to the work scenario, due to the work culture, due to the environment, and due to office politics, slowly, steadily, people leave the job, especially on the junior level, not on the senior level. People who are working with them for a longer duration, for example, 10 years, 12 years, or a senior level, of course, they will stick to the company because they look forward towards another growth opportunity. But on a junior level, for people joining on a junior level, or for us to talk about the freshers, it's difficult for them to stick to one company. It's difficult for them to be stable in the corporate sector. The reason behind, there are people who are already there for past 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, and they have their own, kind of attitude in that area. They have their own personality in that area. So they don't want and they are not ready to accept the other person in their space. in corporate sector, it's difficult to grow for sure. It's very difficult to grow. Though the probation period, if you talk about the probation period, of course, the probation period in the corporate sector is lesser than the education sector. At times, we get the appraisal circle. Yes, of course, the appraisal circle in corporate sector is much more better than the education sector. So these are the various comparisons we can talk about the corporate sector as well as the education sector. Having said that, I have spent almost 12 years in the corporate sector. Corporate sector involves IT, banking, hospitality, marketing. The only sector which I'm left with is the healthcare sector now, and I'm loving my education sector though. However, having spent my 12 years with these kind of corporates, I just realized one thing, that you don't get a mental peace. You don't get that kind of inner satisfaction. It's just, you are just running behind the money. You're just running behind the salary packages. You're just running behind the designations and the growth opportunities. You further look forward towards another opportunity that yes, I'm again stepping ahead with this designation now. For example, you are a manager, you become the HOD of the department, you become the CFO of the organization, then you become a CEO of the organization. So I mean, there is a hierarchy set in the corporate sector, and the person who sticks by, for sure, they get a better growth and opportunity. And the salary packages, yes, of course, they increases. The only thing which lags behind it, the inner peace and the mental peace, the inner that's happiness actually. Why? Because you're just working for the money factor. You're just working. You have loads of responsibility. I understand that everybody has the loads of responsibilities towards their family, towards their relatives, or towards their own. I mean, there are a lot of responsibilities we owe. However, when it comes to working with the education sector, you don't get the growth as early as possible as compared to the corporate sector, as well as however, the education sector, working in the education sector, it gives you mental peace. Why? You are connected with the future of the nation. You are helping the students in nurturing them in their growth. In corporate sector, we are just helping ourselves. We are not helping the other person to grow. Though we have a team, there are team leaders, there are supervisors, there are floor supervisors, there are managers, assistant managers. They all believe in working for themselves. Though they have a team, as I said, they have a team, and they want the team to work. But the productivity, the pressure, the working pressure, it's huge in the corporate sector. You have to perform all the time if in case you really want to grow. And if the team is not performing well, of course the manager will not get a growth. And in turn, who gets affected? The junior level team. Because of the fact they are working, be it a sales team, be it a customer service team, they get affected, they get impacted, and at the end of the day, they get fired. On a senior level, it becomes difficult for HR or the owner of the organization to fire the senior people because of the fact that you don't get the experienced people so soon, be it a corporate sector or be it the education sector. However, if you talk about, leave pattern, of course, you get a lot of leaves. We have companies who are giving Saturday, Sundays off. So every week, if we are working for 5 days continuously, we are getting Saturday, Sunday off as well. Then you have some paid leaves with respect to national festivals or international festivals. There are companies who give off on the international festivals as well, because they are their client holders and the stakeholders are their international clients. For example, the hospitality sector now, talk about the hospitality sector. The marketing companies who are connected, who have their stakeholders as a hospitality sector, they have a leave pattern which is connected to the hospitality sector itself. So again, you are getting a lot of leaves there. You get a paid leave from the office itself, where you can go ahead and spend some time with the family for a week's time or for some 10 days. You get a lot of maternity leaves. Now we have the pattern of fraternity leaves as well, so the father also gets leaves. So these things are still missing in the education sector. Coming to the fact, when we work for the corporate sector, we have to, there are times when, there are times when you are working towards appraisal as a HR person. At the end of the year, we have to sit back and work towards appraisals. Now, to work towards the appraisal, there are a lot of discussions going on. You have to forget about the family. You are just fixed in the office area because of the fact that you have to do a lot of discussions, you have to do a lot of meetings, you have to make a lot of bar charts and a lot of work you have to do. So I think you don't face such challenges in the education sector. Corporate has its own pros and cons. Corporate has its own benefits and yes, problems as well. The politics, yes, of course, there are a lot of politics. The senior people amongst themselves, they are playing politics, and everybody would try to pull the leg of the other person so that that person should not grow and this person should grow. However, as I said, the working in the corporate sector doesn't give a mental peace. You're not happy. You're not internally happy. There's something called internal happiness. You're not compassionate when you're working with the corporate sector. You can't be compassionate. You have to be employer centric. You have to think from the employee point of view. You cannot just think from the employee point of view. There are organizations who are just working towards the growth of the company, forgetting about that the employee is also a person, is also a human being, and they also need some kind of peace, some kind of happiness, some kind of satisfaction, inner satisfaction. They just want the work to be done. They just want a productivity, whether it is affecting their health or a mental health, or it could be physical health, or it could be the work-life balance is not there in the corporate sector at all. People are just working, just running in the morning and coming back at 10 o'clock at night, at times 12 a.m. also. I have been into the scenario where I used to come back at around 12 a.m. at night. So I think more or less every organization has its own benefits and has its own problems. Working with the corporate sector, yes, you get a lot of experience, you get a lot of knowledge from different department heads. You actually learn a lot in the corporate sector, which is as compared to the education sector. Corporate sector has different departments, they have different units. As I said, IT sector is there. So in the internal organization itself, you have an IT team, you have a designer team, you have a sales team, you have a customer service team, you have HR team, the training team. So I think they have a lot of areas where a person can learn a lot. They can be expert in most of the areas. So the experience which we get after working with the corporate sector is much more vast than as compared to the education sector. I'm not talking about, I'm not here comparing any sectors. However, I'm just sharing my own experience, real life experiences, which what I felt is maybe it could be, from my, I think talking about sharing my experience will help others to understand what could be best to join either the corporate sector or the education sector. As I said, everywhere we have politics everywhere, whether it is an education sector, whether it is a corporate sector. It depends upon the individual to individual, how they take up, how they get adapt to the environment. People there are people who just ignore it, and there are people who get impacted and become one of them. But it doesn't solve the purpose, to be honest. At the end of the day, a person who is performing well always get a better results. The corporate sector, I have worked with marketing company. As I said, I've worked with banking sector, got a lot of experience into IT. I have got experience into customer service, as how to be a best in providing this customer satisfaction. Think out of the box so that the customer should feel happy and the customer should be satisfied and customer should stick by to your organization. The services, the kind of services we deliver, totally depends upon our services, how we make our customers stand by us and stick by us for a longer duration of time. So a lot of things you learn when you are working with the corporate sector. I learned few areas into accounts. I learned few areas about the designing. So of course, the corporate sector is also not bad at all. We can always start with the corporate sector and then switch over to education sector. Getting a lot of experience, getting a lot of exposure is always good in life. Because now, when you work with diversified sectors, of course, you know which one is the best for you, for your happiness, and for your mental peace. So that's all I would like to know. Just a message I would like to share. Wherever you are working, give your best shot. Whether it is corporate or education sector, be compassionate. Always work with transparency. Never get into politics, of course. Think out of the box to help your team, to help your stakeholders, to help your own company. And that is how you grow. Because nobody can grow in isolation. You have to work with the team at the end of the day to grow, there's a lot of competition going on, as we all know. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of corporate sectors. I think in order to compete with the compete with the competitors, it's better to compete with yourself. Be a better person every day. Be a better version of yourself rather than comparing yourself to the other person. That will avoid the politics in the organization as well. The corporate people, yes, of course, they are much more, they have a different personality all over. And I think that's all I would like to say. It's better to think about your mental peace, to think about your inner satisfaction, and wherever you go, just perform transparently. That's it. Thank you all.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session of Crafting Transformative Information organized by Planetech Media House. I thank Planetech for inviting me for this session. My introduction already has been given. In short, I have with me 3 decades of experience as a professional, working in airports like Kolkata, Mumbai, and Hyderabad.
heading the corporate communication, also being the spokesperson for Mumbai Airport. Now, presently, I am working with L&T Metro Rail Hyderabad Limited, heading the corporate communication. So the subject which I am supposed to speak is very, very close to my heart, corporate communication. Let me tell you, whoever wants to or aspires to take this as a profession, there cannot be a better, a dynamic, interesting, real, something new. Let me tell you, whoever aspires to take corporate communication as a subject, be very happy that you are entering into a world of dynamism, interesting work every day, very real. Nothing. I mean, for me, there's not a single boring day, because every day is something new. Within the structured framework, what happens in corporate communication is whatever you need to do, it is very new. Tomorrow one press release comes, tomorrow something else comes, some branding activity, some events and exhibitions. So under corporate communication, the verticals which we handle, any Corpcom professional handles are media relations, branding and communication, external communication, marketing communication. Some organizations also have the ATL and BTL activities which Corpcom needs to handle. Otherwise, you package the marketing communication, and then along with the business development team, it's rolled out in the market. Then digital media, a corporate communication professional needs to handle the websites, the blogs, the social media, your Facebook, Twitters, and Insta, LinkedIn, whatever the company is in. So those are all the subjects which the corporate communication person handles. Events and exhibitions, a very integral part. Then network and advocacy, relationship with the government, with the industry bodies. So you can see the vibrancy, the newness of each vertical, and just think about it, that each vertical you have some activities. So it's a it's a widespread wings, and you can really soar with while handling all these activities. It is just for someone to love, and it's a passion, I would say. Corpcom is all about passion. And earlier companies were not so serious about it, or particular about having a Corpcom department. Maybe just a PR department used to be there, or an advertisement. But bringing all these verticals under one roof. Nowadays, of course, the private companies, they do have corporate communication departments, but we have seen that the corporate houses, the government organizations, the PSUs, they have also come up with corporate communication department. So corporate communication department is basically the reputation custodian of the company. You make, or if things go wrong, you break the reputation of the company. It's a very, very important and integral part of any business, any organization. Only how seriously, how meticulously you need to handle, that is someone needs to master. It's a you need to master the art, and communication is all about art and science. Someone once asked me, is it an art or a science? I would say a blend of both, because the creativity part of it is the art. The strategy part of it is the science. There's a science behind strategizing each project, each and every activity which goes out to your stakeholders. So stakeholder management is another very, very integral part of corporate communication, whether it's your external stakeholder or internal stakeholder, because accordingly you develop your communication modules, you develop your communication strategies, you the language of it, the grammar of it. So this is what corporate communication is all about. One thing for a corporate communication professional, first, I mean, there are many things, I'll come one by one, but the most important thing, the aspect is to, or attribute, whatever you call it, is to have the right attitude. And when I say right attitude, it means that giving your best, the 100% of it. As they say, that when you split the letters of the word attitude, taking A as 1, it equals to 100, which means you have to give your 100%. You have to learn, work hands on. It is not only sitting, it's not a desk job, let me tell you. It is again a very nice balance of desk job and leg work, physical activity, because it depends what you're handling, which part of the corporate communication, which part of the vertical of corporate communication you're handling. So it's a very nice balance. So here itself you can understand how interesting and dynamic it is. So it is when you learn hands-on, you gather more experience. You know the trick of the trades, how to handle, because you will not get a very a very literal, a very typical, or a very standard way of work coming to you. That's all about the interest part of the positive part of corporate communication, if you take it positively. So every work is a new thing. Press release, there can be different subject of the press release, sometimes maybe on a company's profit, sometimes on an announcement, sometimes on a new initiative, sometimes on the marketing part, what you're doing, maybe for some companies launching a product. So everything is new about corporate communication, interesting and very real. Why I'm saying real is, suppose for press conferences, it's very real. So anything goes wrong, the image of the organization, of the senior management is tarnished. So one has to be very, very particular. And communication is definitely an art, as I said. The strategies, yes, is behind it, but then how you relate, how you connect to the stakeholders. A corporate communication professional should learn and also train the senior management. Corporate communication head's role is also to train the senior management to be media ready, to be social media ready, and developing the credibility of an organization. It happens over the time. It cannot happen just in a day. It can break in a day, but you cannot just make it in a day. Yes, okay, it becomes maybe a situational at times. You need to customize it, you need to modify it, saying what are the what is the announcement all about, and what how you need to relate to the market, relate to the audience, to the stakeholders, who your stakeholder is. Suppose internal stakeholders for a company are the employees, also to some extent the vendors, the agencies working. So what happens is, typically many companies, they understand the importance of employees, because employees can be your best brand ambassadors to go and give a positive feedback about the company. So it's very important that the management connects with the employees in a very nice way. Now, the way you connect with your employees, it is a mix of personal touch. Personal touch is more important here, and of course keeping them updated with the company activities, keeping them motivated. Employee engagement also is very important. How you keep the employees engaged, I would say productively engaged. So if employees are happy, you have a happy organization. You have a happy organization. You have a happy atmosphere, a conducive atmosphere, a very nice teamwork, which is very, very important. So you have to keep the employees productively engaged, positively engaged. Similarly, suppose a website, it has to have a blend of little a personal connect, but more of information based, more of data based. So you need to, that external communication you have to also master. When you're connecting with the vendors or your agencies, the communication model has to be customized. It has to be more direct and to the point, not too much featureish, because there it is work and it is some expectations of some deliverables. So that's the beauty of it. So that's exactly what I was trying to say. The beauty of corporate communication is, even through your communication you can be so versatile. It's really very interesting. Then suppose you're going completely on the external media through your social media or live press conference, which I just mentioned. So social media, you have to be really very careful, because we have seen nowadays the social media, sometimes things go viral. So it's always it should be a consistent approach. You build up your credibility, you build up a community which can take you, which believes you as a credible organization. At times you need not do a very matter of fact and crisp communication. Maybe it can be a storytelling also, which is the new form of even advertisements nowadays. In the TV commercials, you see how beautifully they tell you a story when they're selling their product. It's no more just a slide saying that you're selling a TV and these are the features of the TV, very point wise. No, they tell a story. With the food, they tell a story. With the any FMCG product, they tell you a story. It's the art of communication. The style of communication is changing. It's very dynamic. It cannot be constant. It's changing over the years. So and as they say, the change is the only constant. So here for corporate communication, it really I think it's a very nice fitting phrase for that. Change is the only constant for corporate communication. Then you have branding and marketing communication. How you sell your company, how you're branding your company. This is especially for the industries who some launches, some retail or automobile, anywhere where you have a B2C approach. So there are companies which have a B2B approach, business to business and business to consumers. So there again the strategy changes a bit. There are some very beautiful B2B companies who have come forward and taken the B2C approach. Very interestingly, they feel that whatever they're trying to tell the world, that is itself is a product. They try to sell their company as a product with a B2C approach. So things are changing. The style of communication, the style of corporate communication is changing. Of course, the network and advocacy. So this is again, you have to be in touch with the industry bodies to know what is happening, to be in touch with the government, because these industry bodies, they are policy makers and they take it forward to the government. So through them, if you have a very good relation, you can pass on many the proposals, what you're intending to put up or implement. So there itself you should, the government relationship. So corporate affairs also at times comes under corporate communication. So each organization, they have their own setup as per their vision and mission. And for corporate communication job, it is 24/7. One must accept that, especially people who are with PR, they're dealing with media relation. It is a 24/7 work, and it can be stressful if you're not enjoying it. So you have to have the love and passion for it to not get stressed out dealing with it. I remember when I was a spokesperson for Mumbai Airport, media calls and the queries used to come even at midnight, because Mumbai Airport being such a busy airport. So at times, and especially during the monsoons, there used to be many crises. So crisis communication is another a very integral part of corporate communication. The corporate communication people have to be very good crisis managers. And this crisis, when it comes, it does not really come in one format. At times it can come like a tsunami, and it comes, you have to deal with it accordingly. You have to know the art of handling a crisis. You have to be transparent. You can never afford to lie or hide fact. More than mastering the art of what to say, one has to master the art of what not to say, or how to package your communication. And that can take you to be a very successful crisis communicator. You have to be really, really very genuine. You have to be very credible, because you cannot really fool people by sharing a wrong information. And especially in today's date, when the social media is so very active, and any picture and video can go viral about it. You have to be very careful about the fake news. You have to keep a complete tab on what's happening. So fake news is another very serious problem which we are facing nowadays, which any company or a business is facing nowadays. And the CorpCom professional has to be very adept with it, how to handle, how to tell your stakeholders, how to tell your customers that this is definitely a fake news. If required, you need to complain to the cyber crime department. So this is how you can you can really deal with it. And another very important part of communication is relationship, maintaining relationship, maintaining very professional relationship with a coat of personal touch, I would say, with a definitely laced with credibility. You as a corporate communication professional has to prove very credible, as you are proving your company to be credible to media, to whether it's a print media or an electronic media. You have to be very credible. People should believe you when, suppose you are saying something representing the company, because in many companies corporate communication heads are the spokesperson. So you have to be very credible. You have to build up your credibility as you're building up the credibility for the company. So the maintaining a relationship, you have to have so much intelligence of the media, and that can only comes with the beautiful relationship over the years you develop with the media fraternity. And also the when you're they say that to create a brand, be a brand. So you have to be a brand to create your company's brand, to establish your company's brand. So you also have to be a figure which one can look up to. One can find you very credible, one can believe you, so that how you be successful in toning down a particular news. It is very important, and that can also only happen with your very good healthy relationship with the media. So corporate communication, you need to handle your annual reports, your websites, your social media, as I said, white papers. You need to have the flair for writing. And when I'm saying flair for writing, you should know which communication should have a little futuristic approach, and which communication should have a very technical aspect to it. It depends on the communication, the press release, suppose when you're floating in the market, disseminating to the media. So you have to know how to pitch a news, at times. And this all I have learned from media also, that how to pitch a news, what you need to pitch a news, be very short and crisp and precise. People don't have, in the world of 1,000 news coming over in an hour, and it's so real. You see the news channels every third I think hour, you see some new news coming up. So you should just hit the right chord, what you want to tell the world, tell your stakeholders what you want them to believe, what you want them to know, what you want them to learn. So you should know how to pitch the news correctly. That is the again the art of corporate communication. One needs to know how then for if I'm shifting from the media relations part, then when you're coming to the collateral part, if you're having an event or an exhibition, you should know what the market is, who are your stakeholders, who are the people who are coming and visiting your exhibition, who are the people who are coming for your event. So you need to package that accordingly, the event and exhibitions, how you need to, which are the collaterals, which are the creative should go. Also, it is very important, as I said, that the world has become virtual now. Virtual closeness is there. So the corporate communication professional has to be sort of tech savvy also. How to use technology for better communication. That is also very important. How the mediums are, because even the news and everything is online now. So the usage of right technology, the right methods to reach out to the wider audience, wider customers is very important. So you should be adept with the technology. You don't have to be an IT person for that. But you have to be tech savvy, which is called nowadays. You have to be tech savvy to for effective communication. And yes, definitely communication end of the day should be effective, reaching to the hearts and minds of your stakeholder target audience, as we say. Another vertical which comes under corporate communications, in fact, many companies, they have corporate communications who handle this vertical is revenue generation. Now, when I say revenue generation, it's not the business development part of it, hardcore sale, and not the sales. I mean, sales and marketing, but the different way, like what we do here is commercial shoots. Earning revenue through commercial shoots. So in corporate communication, it's a facilitating department, it's a cost center. So what you can do is through different innovative ways, like handling the film shoot, commercial shoots, so you can be a revenue generator for your company, make your company self-sustaining, which can give you importance. You're not only a cost center. So like here we have our metro stations, we have our office premise, so which we rent out for film shoot. Even for when I used to head the corporate communication for Hyderabad airport, we used to give the airport and the township and the roads for commercial shoots. So this is another important vertical which corporate communication can handle. One quality which a corporate communication professional should have is keep the learning window open. As the right attitude, which I mentioned before, is important. Keep your learning window open. Always be abreast with what's happening around. It can give you a lot of fodder to package your communication, to develop your communication, to learn how to deal with communication, even crisis communication. So you have to be very well aware of the policies, not only your department or your company. In fact, many corporate communication department I have seen, they don't have that ownership, to learn what the company is doing, to studying the annual report, to how to handle AGMs, is very important. The annual general meeting, that also comes under corporate communication, to design and the content of the annual report, how it should be. So many people don't go too much into it if you don't need to do it. But even if you are not doing it, if suppose your finance department is doing it, so still you should know, you should learn your complete annual report. What is the condition and position of the company in the market? If it is to be some companies are listed, so you should know how to communicate with the stock exchange. There the communication, again, it should be very, very business oriented, and facts and figures. It's very important, because that, your communication, what your announcements depends on your stocks, taking your stocks high in the market. So you have to be a corporate communication professional, has to be very well read and well aware of the policies, not only your company. Suppose I belong to the metro, a company which runs metro. I should know what is going around in the industry, how the policy is being changed, modified, how the government is looking into the industry. So it's maybe you don't need to really implement all that in your communication, but you should be well aware. When you go to your senior management, especially for the corporate communication heads, you have to be very, very short and crisp in your communication. Your MD, CEO may not have the time to listen to your futuristic story, but you have to just go very ever ready with your pointers. And before going with your pointers, one should question herself or himself that what questions can come from the MDs on each pointers which you are taking. So you should be very ready with your answers. So how this can happen? It can only happen when you completely have a grasp of what you are presenting. Your presentation skills should be very, very interesting, important, and crisp. So it all depends who your stakeholder is. When you're going to your MD, he is your stakeholder. When you're talking to media is your stakeholder. When you're going and networking with the industry bodies, they are your stakeholders. When you're talking to the government is your stakeholders. When you're talking to your customers, they are your stakeholders. So anyone with whom you're interacting can be is your stakeholder, and your approach should be different. Your strategy, your style should be different. But one thing which should be very common is you should be very confident of what you're putting on the table, what you're communicating. There cannot be any chance of you getting back, reverting, I'll get back to you. This can happen once or twice, but not continuously. Then what happens? People don't take you seriously. And relationship, it can be developed over the years, as I said, with your credibility. And also this aspect of yours, your confidence, how you carry yourself, how you communicate, is very important to develop yourself as a credible brand and your company as a credible brand, especially in this virtual times. Now we know that what the COVID has got us into a terrible situation. So what is more important is a collective effervescence, all on the same page, communicating on something. So virtual work from home, virtual media, as I am speaking to you, it has become very common. So even if you're working from home, the CorpCom professional has to see what best way you can keep your management aware of what's happening around. Maybe the media news coverage, policy updates, try to give it regularly. Suppose through your media intelligence you get to know what the government is coming up with their policies or some announcements. So you should have that relationship with the media to get it in advance, to share with your senior management, so that they also can be well prepared with their strategies. So you have to be very aware, very smart in your approach, very vibrant. You have to show a very confident, happy, and pleasant demeanor, a face to the external stakeholders, internal stakeholders, for people to accept you not only as a person, but what you want to convey. They accept that. So in this virtual time, work from home, you have to be very particular to keep relation with your team members, because everyone is suffering. We can see the behavioral change coming in people. We can see the the morale going down of employees, because uncertainties all around you. So you have to be continuously in touch with regular team meetings on virtual platforms, on con calls, on emails. Try to develop very interesting email which can pep up your your spirit. Work is always there, it will be there, but try to be in touch with them with interesting emails, interesting information, something creative. Maybe get some good speakers. Training and development, as it mostly comes under HR, but let me tell you that in some organization, even HR deals with this communication of for employees. So training and development, maybe you suggest you get some interesting speakers, you let people know, your organization know what corporate communication can do, what their functions are, how they can be with the company in the time of need. So that's very important. So, and another aspect, I think, for a corporate communication professionals, for any corporate communication professional, particularly for would-be corporate communication professional, is the risk-taking attitude. You should take risk, but calculated risk. Calculated risk is very important. You cannot be a zero risk taker. No, that's not corporate communication is all about. You have to take calculated risk in your job. Then only you can find out the newness, the experiment. You need to experiment, but while experimenting, you cannot take things for granted, because it can tarnish, it can damage the reputation of the company and the department also. So you have to do experiments, you have to take risks, but with well thought out strategy, with enough study and research behind that. Doing that, you take calculated risk. So to sum up, corporate communication, one of the most interesting, vibrant, dynamic subject or department for people who love newness in their life, who love color in their life, who loves challenge in their life, who loves that go-getterness. One has to be that go-getter to be a corporate communication professional. And trust me, if you really develop the passion for corporate communication, doing a deep delve study about the subject, there cannot be a boring day in your life, in your profession. And when you're not having a boring day in your life, especially to your profession, you can be happy, your company can be happy, your colleagues can be happy, people at home can be happy, because you won't bring in the tension of the office, if at all you have it. It is very natural, it has, it happens, but you don't need to bring it back, because every day is a learning in corporate communication. That is another beauty of it. Every day you learn something new, some new strategies, some new way to work, some new style of working. That's all about corporate communication. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to and this platform to speak about the subject. And I really encourage people to study communication more, mass communication, PR, whatever you're studying, journalism. Come forward for communication related work and make your life really very interesting, and which can make you a better professional and make you a better individual. Thank you so much.